Hey guys, Infidel1258 here. Today I want to share my thoughts on the recent RiftWatcher nerf and buffs that occurred. And it's all testnet stuff, but Jim and I are going to get into conversations on which ones got way better, which ones got way worse, and just our general thoughts on the RiftWatcher's launch. So if that sounds interesting, stick around, stay tuned, like and subscribe. Have an amazing day. God bless. So I wanted, the chat did share some of the changes to some of the monsters from the RiftWatchers. Lordo, thank you, my dude. I want to go have a peek of these. Runemancer Floret, who was that beast mode green legendary. She got increased speed by 2. Wow, that's a huge... She was only 2 speed before, if I remember correctly. So going from 2 to 4 is a good deal.
I'm a big fan of her.
Dude, Lamel Refugee, I almost did a video on like, they have to nerf Lamel Refugee. I said in my video, I did a 1 hour, 15-minute video on the RiftWatchers team cards, and Lamel Refugee is a common monster for the blue team. And I was like, this is the best card out of every card here. Like better than the legendaries, better because of it was so obviously going to match perfectly well with Phase Dragon, or for that matter, Dispel Water Summoner, that it was going to be broken. It was going to have 12 speed in certain contexts. And so they had to nerf the speed, and they did. Sea stock.
Actually.
Okay. So let's start there then. No, we'll go to Runemancer first, and then we'll go to green legendary. There she is.
Beautiful.
Floret or something. Yeah, this card's stunning. And the damage is amazing, and the hit points are huge. She doesn't have any abilities, but she's just a beast.
She's going to get close range, so she's going to be bopping them in the front line for like 7 damage.
Yeah, but if she gets into the front row, you're probably in trouble from Fury or not Fury, Giant Killer.
Yeah.
Every
card has weakness, right?
Giant Killer is a lot like Fury, but better, because Giant Killer applies to everything over 10 mana, whereas Fury only applies to the big monsters that have taunt, and not every big monster, such as this one, has taunt.
Yeah.
It's kind of interesting how they're like very similar abilities, but yeah, like one is just like a nerfed version of the other. But yeah,
I can't just see the Night Ghoul just get like one shot by something with Fury and Giant Killer.
Wouldn't it be a one hit because of the force field?
Actually, so I don't know exactly how it is. I believe if the attack itself is 5, so if they have 4, but then it gets doubled and then doubled again, I thought that would work around it, because now we're looking at modifiers. Yeah. And force field states when the attack itself is 5.
Yeah, it could be. You could be right. This card, 2 speed more, makes it... I actually liked this card in my video, but I definitely felt that was one of the... it wasn't one of the best cards in my opinion. It's like a great card, but before the speed buff, this was questionable. Now I think it's an excellent card, and it makes... I think that was the right move. 2 more speed makes sense to me.
Yeah. Also, Woody's saying force field only turns damage to 1 if the base damage is 5 or over. So It's not taking into modifiers at that point.
Cool. Okay. Good to know. So, I wanted to see who else. Oh yeah, the next one was for the one I talked about, Lamel Refugee.
Mm-hmm.
Water. Not legendary, common. Lamel. Yeah, this card was like just crazy. It had 6 speed at the highest.
What?
Width and Rage would bring it to 9 speed. And then presumably you could bring a little bit of speed modifier to it. Like you easily could have reached 12 speed. And then you have Dispel, Backfire as your summoner nowadays with the blue team. So Even this is really great for a common. Like this is going to be a really good monster. For a common, it's going to be very. I think this is competitive with Demon Shark. Maybe it's not as good, but it's good in a different way, like a substantially different way, because of the void armor, and because the enrage is going to slap pretty hard too.
Yeah, this card's still phenomenal, even with the 2 nerf to speed.
Yeah, it was probably broken. I mean, I that's what I said in my video. I was like, holy cow, but it's still good. It's a very strong, even at 4, it's still going to go to 6 speed. And then if you bring any swiftness, you're going to really move. You're going to be pretty painful or pretty damaging and pretty fast. So though I agree with both those nerfs, I'm disappointed because I wanted that Lamel Refugee to be my new beast mode, but it makes sense. Sea Stalker, I don't remember that one. Sea Stalker replaced Headwinds with Amplify. Let's go have a peek at that.
Oh, that guy. Yeah.
Sea Stalker. This was one of the cards I liked a lot from the blue team. So what they replaced.
I'm not a fan of them now.
They used to have Headwinds, and now they have Amplify. Well, I guess, I always like having more Amplify, honestly. I still like it. I don't know what I'd like. Do I like it more if it had Headwinds?
I just think that these cards are so like awkwardly placed. Like you have a high mana ranged attacker who's trying to be a support unit, but like nothing it's showing me is just like good enough. But then it also just has 5 damage. So it's in like this weird place to where it's trying to be a damage dealer, but then also giving a little bit of support.
You know what I see though? I mean, I see that what I'm seeing is that with the blue team has 2 triage monsters. Sorry, I mean, I meant to say cleanse, and I actually think they might only have 1 significant cleanse monster. The let's see.
Mermaid?
No, yeah, the mermaid is one of them, so they have 2. But no, they have the Kelp Initiate. The Kelp Initiate is really, really strong, and it has cleanse and triage, and it's got 8 or 9 hit points depending on, I guess, where you're at. And the cleanse is really, really important, and because it sustains your, if you're going to use like a Kraken or like even a Demon Shark, you really need to make sure you're not getting poisoned to death. This thing's going to help you out, and let you be repaired and healed, or at least healed. And then, but it's only 2 mana. And so in like a ton of battles, I will play this, even though there's 99 mana, because it's that good. But like now I could potentially have an option where I'm getting cleanse, I'm getting, quite a few hit points. Like this gets up to 7 hit points. I'm getting amplify. Maybe that helps me. Maybe it doesn't. It's camouflage, so it's safe. And it's going to be dropping bombs on my opponent, in certain moments. So I kind of like it, but maybe I like it for higher level play. I don't know that I would like it in low level play because of, like you say, what is it really like? It's a ton of mana. So I just don't know about lower battles.
Well, I think in lower level, if we're talking silver and below, so like you look at it, it can get 5 damage in silver. So like it's being a big unit in terms of that. But that's the thing. Like it just kind of changes drastically, and it doesn't really build into its strength that I think, right? So like it's trying to avoid things and looking to hit their backline really hard with that 5 damage and snipe, right? But then they're like, oh, and then we're going to give it cleanse, and then we're going to give it amplify. Yeah. Which I'm like, sure, but it's awkward, and it doesn't play to what the card is looking to be, it seems like.
I see what you mean, and I agree. But yet I'm happy to see this here. Like I'm glad, just functionally, that there'll be a cleanser on that team. But
Yeah.
you know, just thematically, I agree. Like, look at her; she's a boss. She's a warrior. She's like that, like gigantic bow. She's like ready to fire long distances and just take you down.
Yeah.
She looks like a beast, but she doesn't scream cleanse. She doesn't scream like healer. She doesn't scream support. She looks like a DPS.
Yeah.
So I agree that the cleanse, but I really think they add the cleanse almost exclusively for that reason. What I was outlining, like there just isn't a lot of the high level cleanses.
Right.
Runemaster Kai, I forget who that one is. Increased cost to 11 and increased speed by 1, and replaced amplify with fury. That's a lot of changes. So increase the cost, increase the speed, and replace amplify with fury. Runemaster Kai. I think that's a legendary. I don't know who that is though. Okay, this one. So one more speed. This was only a 2 speed across the board before, and I thought to myself, no thanks. I think I said in my video pass.
Yeah.
It didn't. What did it used to have? It used to have amplify, which is whatever. Yeah, kind of cool, but I figure no thanks. Like I don't really care. And it was 10 mana before, now it's 11. The Fury is definitely a big upgrade. The speed is nice. The one more speed is nice. And the Fury is, it's not always going to matter, but I would say when that hits, you're going to be super glad you have it there. And, is that going to increase your life leech? What do you think, Jim?
Yeah. Because it's based upon the damage you deal.
That could get pretty wild.
Yeah. You could gain like 4 HP in a single turn.
Yeah. That's cool. So I like it now. Now I still don't feel like it's holy cow. I'm all about speed, and 3 is just whatever. This is gonna have a role. It's gonna be powerful, but it wouldn't be one that I would race out to get over some of these other cards we've already looked at. Night Ghoul replaced in rage with taunt. Replaced in rage with taunt. Dude, that's a bad trade.
Wait, who's that? Who's that 15 dragon guy?
We'll go there in a second, but hang on a second. So there used to be Enrage. I forgot about that, Jim, when we were talking about this before we went live. I actually forgot it had Enrage, and that would be such a powerful thing. And it didn't have taunt before. I always thought it had taunt. See, some of the stats just slipped out of my mind. Yeah, this with taunt is, especially since you guys explained that the taunt, the Fury won't necessarily proc the force field. So this makes this a lot more vulnerable, and the loss of Enrage takes away a lot of this thing's benefit. This was one of the best cards that I saw in my first review. So this makes those 2 big changes are definitely significant. I still think it's nice, but I don't know I certainly wouldn't call it, one of the best cards any longer. What do you think? You want this one?
Yeah, I still think overall it's still a really good card. Sure, it has the weakness of the giant killer along with being able to hit by the Fury. But we only have one taunt monster in Death, right? And that's Dark Juan.
Yeah.
So I mean, it is nice to be able to have another unit, and he does hit like a truck.
Mm-hmm.
Still, like even before the change to the Enraged, like he's still a monster in terms of damage output. Yeah,
I gotta be honest. I think he was probably too good before for a common monster, and this is still good, but it's so much less good in my opinion that I'm like, wow, that's a big nerf. But I do still think he's good, so that's probably meaning it's in the right place.
Hmm.
Septic Slime. Septic Slime. Oh, I liked that card a lot. That's where was that one? Septic Slime. That was a
Red common.
yes.
That he dropped. Yeah,
And what was the change?
I kind of like it.
Yeah, I like the artwork first of all.
Snare at max level, and then it got True Strike.
Ooh, yes, please.
Yeah, card's so much better now.
Dude, I liked it before. I honestly liked it a lot before. I mean, for one thing, stun out the gate, which is great, and I actually like cards that are 1 speed. They're not for every match, but when the rule set says negative, slow goes first, you are happy you have them, and so I feel like you need them in a well-rounded deck. So I actually really liked it, even with just Snare, which Snare was just, I actually thought they put Snare in it very intentionally. I said in my video, it was going to counter, the Pelacor mercenary, who flies and therefore Snare would grab him.
Mm-hmm.
Pelacor. And this card is a very strong card. And so I would argue that at highest levels, it probably could use a counter. And I would argue that this card, this Septic Slime would probably be a counter because stun, offered 50% chance. Your slowness would prevent you from hitting some monsters, but that Pelacor mercenary would not be one of them because of the snare that was here. Now the True Strike still means you're going to land your shots on everybody though, not just a flyer. I think this is a really important improvement, but I'm actually kind of surprised because I thought he was good before. Interesting. That's the first one where I'm surprised they did it. Tinderlock reduced speed by 2. Wow. People were pretty pumped about Tinderlock. I wasn't super sold on him, but people seem to really think Tinderlock was a beast.
Yeah, I think Bulldog was saying that, like, people were saying he was like the most broken one. He was like, he's kind of overrated.
Yeah.
And now with the nerf, it's like, oh, okay.
Yeah. Yeah, I feel that. It's cool to listen to different creators' videos and then hear the similar thinking, even when we don't hear what we don't already know what we want another to say. It to me, it's like an affirmation that like we're actually onto something. But I look at it and I think, okay, look, he's doing a fair bit of damage, and I know he's gonna go last stand. But here's the thing with last stand. Unless you're playing a low mana match like you saw me doing earlier where it was 12 mana and I got my Efreet Elder in there, you don't necessarily know that your guy is going to go last stand because you might get some sort of weird opponent who does opportunity or does sneak, and they end up taking out your last stander, and then you're left with you're left with a Furious Chicken in the first position, and that's it. And so, this would be cool, in my opinion, where you knew he was your only card, and therefore you knew you were going to trigger the last stand. And the close ranges, of course, is great in that context. And then silence is, I guess, cool because you're if your opponent's throwing magic at you, you're not going to get just eaten alive so fast. And death blow is always nice, but I don't love death blow. I just feel this silence doesn't make a lot of sense. Of course, I want it for the fire team. The magic is a problem for them, but like we said earlier about the thematic nature of whatever that mermaid card was for the blue team. I just don't like, why silence? Why would a guy on the fire team who is carrying a flamethrower, why would he nerf silence? It just doesn't make a lot of sense to me.
Yeah, especially with, I mean, I guess he's, what was their point in this guy? Like he seems, what was the nerf that they did? They lowered his speed?
They lowered his speed by 2. So that's a big change because you're going from 5 with the last stand. That would have been really interesting, really fast, really powerful, but they took away 2 speed.
So now his speed goes to 5 in being in last stand. And then if you What if you're playing him with the Osik, then he goes to 8.
Yeah, something like that. Certainly
It is like-
good, certainly strong. But I mean, I don't know. I mean, I think this guy is slightly better than there's an equivalent to this guy out there on the white team.
I don't even know how I feel about him, even with that pre-nerf. Like, sure he's strong, but I don't know if I'd say he's. I'm not very impressed, is what I would say.
Yeah.
Which is weird.
Look at this guy, Hero Beyond, close range, last stand, shield. 9 hit points, 2 armor, 3 damage output, relatively slow. So he's a different kind of kit because he's quite a bit slower. He has armor, whereas the other one doesn't. He has shield, whereas the Tinderlock doesn't. But in some sense, this one is a more tanky version of Tinderlock.
Yeah.
And this card I own this card and I use it, and I argue it works sometimes, but it's very hit or miss. And so I don't really see how Tinderlock is going to be a different story. I think this is going to it's going to work sometimes, and most of the time you're going to wish you used 10 mana in a different way.
Yeah, he seems awkward. The other thing I was kind of thinking of with the silence. So,
oh yeah,
like you have multiple ways to being able to shut down magic, right? But it's not even so much of a shutdown. It's now making him tankier against magic, right? So rather than having the void or void armor, like just reducing their flat magic damage is kind of sometimes better. Sometimes
this is like better from a support perspective, because like if you had a bunch of monsters in front of this guy, nerfing your opponent's magic would make each of your teammates more resilient. So this is better than having, for instance, Void, because just Void would only help Tinderlock. But I don't understand why this monster has that. Now, I do, because they're just trying to create support monsters with higher mana so that they can kind of create some new synergies, because certain support monsters get so much love even though they're 2 or 3 mana, that the game is like, well, why don't we make some big mana monsters that have some of these support? But I just think I don't see the unity of vision on that theme of it.
Yeah, especially when you pointed him out, kind of being like the hero beyond.
Yeah,
that was that name.
Yep.
He's definitely nice to be playing with General Salone, and so like I could see this guy being decent. But you definitely, I feel like you kind of need to have the Jotun with him, right?
Yeah.
Because then that makes him like he's shooting with a flamethrower.
Yeah.
Having some form of AoE with a flamethrower makes sense. So like you throw him in with the Jotun, his attack instantly goes to 5 at max, and then when he's the last one, then the 5 goes to 8. And then he's just destroying things.
Yeah.
That I like.
Yeah.
With other summoners, not so much.
Maybe the thing is, because he's rare, he shouldn't be as good as you're describing, but the way you just described would be so awesome, and would be like thematically appropriate for the artwork too. But yeah, then maybe they would have had to make him legendary. And maybe I don't know. I don't love this card, is the end of the, where I guess I land.
Yeah.
Let's do Master Crafter, and then let's see what's going on in the chat. We got about 40 minutes left. Master Crafter. I don't even remember that one. Master Crafter.
What do I feel like it's neutral?
Could be Master. Nope. Dragon. Nope.
Green?
No. Wait. I must have, wherever this card is, I didn't at all pay attention to it, because Master Crafter. What? That's card doesn't exist.
card doesn't exist, guys.
So Mastercrafter increased speed by 1. I don't see that one, Lordo. And of course I missed like 27 million comments while we're doing that. Might be Runecrafter. Okay. Runecrafter. Yeah,
sure.
that one
That one's neutral.
that was a legendary. Nope. Runecrafter. Something crafter anyways. Do we see any crafters? Technomancer.
But we're going to be talking about that guy as well, though.
Yeah.
Bottom left.
Oh, Runecrafter. So Runecrafter got what? He got
Plus
+1 speed, was it? +1 increased speed by 1. So let me have a peek at this thing. Well, it's an archery for your neutrals. I remember liking the artwork a lot. He looks like he's ready to go, like just front lines. Even with his crossbow, he's like, let's get in there. Fury is going to be really helpful because of the taunt. There's more additional taunt. I think every Fury monster is going to be interesting and probably desirable.
Yeah.
He's got some, he's got like that. He's got that like, he's got that like almost off tank, right, vibe with the big armor and the big hit points. He's reminding me of that, of the fire archery monster with the close range and the big hit points like this. And you could play it with Bernhardt, which would be interesting, right?
Mm-hmm.
Three speed is bearable, you know?
It's definitely a speed.
Yeah. I mean, it's okay. It's okay.
Yeah. He's just okay.
If the neutral, you always, again, we got a neutral summoner coming out. Maybe that ends up having some really interesting ramifications on how the neutrals play. But I don't know. I think that's kind of a whatever. You wanted to see something on one of these ones? I forget what it was.
Well, it's going to be another one we go over. 5-drop neutral guy.
5-drop neutral. Neutral.
Yeah.
5. Cabo?
Yeah, this is another guy who got buffed.
Oh, did he?
Yeah.
What was the change?
They got rid of Shatter and put on Rust instead.
Yeah. Okay. I mean, I like Rust a lot, is the thing. I like Rust a lot. It's a counterplay, though. You know what I mean? Whereas, like, you need to know that I'm going to have some armor or guess that I'm going to have some armor. So it's a counterplay. Whereas Shatter is more offensive in a sense where if I'm going to hit you with my Shatter, like if I play Magic and it has Shatter, what will happen is I can bring that one Magic monster with Shatter, and I can bring archery monsters behind it, and I can trust that because of my Shatter, if you do have armor, it's taken care of, and my archers are going to hit you like Magic would hit you. And so in that sense, Shatter is much more directly impactful than a Rust, but I like Rust.
But then you also have to look at his movement speed. So with him being 2, he's pretty much going to be swinging after his other cards.
Very true. I guess unless reverse speed.
Rust tends to be better.
I think that's a fair point.
I do also think if you are going to have a Shatter monster, it better have Magic. Like, I really feel so bad when I would have to play anything Shatter and it's not a Magic attack. It's like, oh, I hit you for 7 damage or however much. We'll say like 4 damage, but they only have 1 armor anyway. So it's like, well, I broke it, okay, but like my Magic would have hit your life and then got rid of your armor.
Yeah.
If they made it to where Shatter actually triggered before the damage went through, I think it would be so much more broken.
I use, of the shatter monsters that are on the screen here, I use some of them very often. I use Ice Pixie a lot. She's a very strong 2-mana monster, and she's so fast at the higher levels that you're right, she punches first, breaks that armor, and then your archeries can follow up. Battering Ram is the same deal. An opportunity 2-cost monster that hits for 2 and has shatter at the higher levels. And so you know, if you're using a taunt, like for instance, the shield bearer on the white team, I'll hit you fast with my battering ram, break that armor, and then away we go. Flamesmith is another one I like to have a lot. He does shatter and he has a repair, which is nice if you bring like your own, like for instance, Grum in the first position. I really like that.
Yep.
I use Radiated Scorcher quite a bit when it's melee from any position, because he does 2 or maybe even 3 damage at the highest levels. And then you get a shatter for a 1 cost, which is always nice.
Yeah, really good card.
And Boatman.
Boatman, holy cow, that guy's so good.
Yeah, so these are all strong monsters. I mean, shatter is good. It's a good ability. So, but rust is a bit easier, or sorry, a bit less. It's still good. It's just, and in some sense, like you pointed out, because he is slower, the rust is almost more impactful because the shatter wouldn't have necessarily had time to do anything because he's so slow. I kind of like him.
Yeah.
And I like the art a lot.
Yeah.